Okay, this is day 2 of the air conditioner install on the 1991 Jeep YJ. The first order of the day is I'm going to start installing the compressor. And as I go to the box for the compressor, I note they have already put a sticker on the front that warns you that if you break an ear on this thing, that they're not going to warranty that. So what it suggests is to be sure and attach the compressor to the mounting plate before tightening down the plate. And here's that sticker here. We will make an adjustment to the price of a replacement compressor. To avoid cracking an ear on the new compressor, be sure to tighten the compressor to the mount prior to installing it on the engine. Do not add oil. So I'm going to do that. I bet there's been several of these things broken with installation, so hopefully I won't be one of them. So let's do that. According to the instructions, the compressor should be placed so that, of course, they're in line with the pulleys, as well as the line entry ports should face the passenger side. So the compressor, as you can see looking down there, the compressor pulleys are aligned and the entry ports are on the face the passenger's wheel. Okay, so I'll bolt that down. Okay, one thing I didn't realize is you have to have 2 idler pulleys. They send you one of them. I guess they're assuming you have the other, but there's an idler pulley that goes right here as well. For some reason my Jeep did not have that idler pulley, so what I've done is I went to Auto Parts and I found an old Jeep Cherokee, same size pulley, pulled it, and I'm going to mount it here. The pulley that they did send, I mounted here, and I didn't realize we had to have another pulley. So anyway, there's 2 pulleys that I had to have in order to make this air conditioner belt work, so be aware of that. So make sure you have this pulley that goes right here, because they're not going to send it, or a correction, they will send a pulley, but be sure that you've got this pulley up here. Alright, let's put the other pulley on. Okay, I've already messed up. In order to install the pulley here, in order to access that, you have to take off the alternator. And in doing so, and taking off the alternator, the bracket that holds the alternator has broken. And you can see that right there. So that's kind of frustrating. So I've got to come up with another bracket for the alternator because that one has broken. Anyway, the things you get into. Okay, just to show you, this is the bracket that broke, that's on the bottom of the alternator, and you can see it had been previously cracked before and it was just barely hanging on. So just be aware of that when you go to do a project like this, that all of these old parts, some of these have cracks in them. So let me see if I can repair that. Okay, so here's how I remedied the broken bracket that holds the alternator. I tried using a brazing method, and I'm sure there's someone out there who knows how to braze this stuff, but I think this is some type of pewter, because I would apply heat to it and it would basically the metal would like disintegrate or be really, I don't know how to explain it, but it was almost like it would burn up before the brazing rod would reach temperature. So I stopped, and then so I used this this welding compound mixture. What do you call it? It's like a it's called Loctite Weld, and it's an epoxy. And I know epoxy can be really strong, so I put a huge amount around the neck of this, and hopefully that'll hold it. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so while that bracket is drying, I'm going to go ahead and install the hoses. And attached to the hoses are these O-rings. You're supposed to put an O-ring, of course, at every connection. So I'm going to start doing that. Okay, the large hose, which is the number 10 hose, goes from the compressor to the condenser. So it goes through the firewall. It's best to take the grommet out that you had already put in, like in with some of the earlier steps, and put that grommet on the hose. My hose did not have a grommet on it, so I'm going to try to fit it on there. Then feed it through the firewall. Okay, I've now installed the hoses per the instructions. The number 10 hose hooks up at the top to the compressor and goes to the evaporator inside the Jeep. The hose just below that goes to the condenser, and then we have a hose that goes from the condenser to the dryer, and then from the dryer to the evaporator inside the Jeep. Be sure and put O-rings on each connection, snug them up. Okay, so next I'm going to go ahead and install my serpentine belt and the bracket that I repaired. Hopefully it'll last. I'm going to go ahead and order a new bracket anyway, in case that one does break, but at least I'll have a way of getting the system going. We'll see. Okay, the next step is I'm going to connect the pressure switch that hooks to the dryer. This male end connects to the the female end connects to the compressor, and the other end hooks to the wire that goes to the evaporator inside the Jeep. And that's your pressure switch. We'll hook those up. I ran my pressure switch through this hole right here in the firewall. This is just behind the brake master cylinder, and then I'll route the switch wire along the posterior aspect of the firewall, and then coming around and attaching to the point right there by the compressor. Okay, so yeah, there's the repaired bracket, and it's bolted up okay, and it hasn't cracked yet, so I'm going to try it. Go ahead and put the alternator on, and then we can go ahead and tighten up the serpentine. Okay, so what I've done is completed the installation as far as putting in the radiator, shroud, the belt, and I've tightened the belt up. So next order of business is to put a vacuum on it and see if I have some type of leak somewhere. Hopefully I don't. This is just a view of the installation. There's the dryer, the compressor. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, this radiator hose was really close to touching the compressor, so what I did was I just simply cut off about a ½ of an inch of the radiator hose right here, which allowed the hose to actually sink further down onto the fitting here, and so you can see I've got plenty of room there now. That's not going to ever touch. So that's how I worked with that little issue. And I've read where some people have actually twisted their hoses and things like that. I didn't want to do that. I just simply cut the hose off some, and that work seems to be like it's going to work fine. Alright, so next step is to draw a vacuum on it. On my Jeep, this is the heater disperser vent that sits just below, I don't know, it's below where the ashtray and stuff goes. It throws the heat out to your feet on both sides. I had to cut this corner off because the hose that comes out from the evaporator was hitting that, and there was no other way around that. So it should look like that, but I had to cut that little bit off there. Just something to consider. So this is an update. I also had to cut the left side of that vent disperser because the drain tube would hit here, and there was no way to get this in. So this is about the only way that I know of is to at least have some type of directional vent disperser in your Jeep. Okay, we're drawing a vacuum on the system. I just started doing that. So there's lots of videos on YouTube on how to charge your AC system, so I'm going to refer you to those if you want to know how to charge your system. Pretty much all the same for R134. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I have a temperature probe, digital temperature probe in the Jeep, and once I get it charged, I'm going to put the AC on and I'm going to let you see how cold it gets, or if it even works at all. So stay tuned for that. Okay guys, the installation is complete. Let's check it. Let's see what temperatures we can get. What I've done is I've set up my digital thermometer, and as you can see it's pretty hot in here, 27. This is Celsius. I've got the probe running to inside the vent. Let's crank the Jeep and see what happens. Okay, 15 degrees Celsius, 14. 13, 12, 10, 9, 8. Okay, so stabilized at about 11 degrees. And that vent, let's check another vent here. About 10 degrees Celsius there. 10 or 11. Checking another vent. 10, 9, 8. Okay. So 8 degrees Celsius is about 45 degrees. So that's on the high end of what is expected. So, but it is about 45 degrees is plenty cool. So anyway, I just wanted you to see the air conditioner system is installed and it does work. So I hope this helps you if you're planning on purchasing an air conditioner for your Jeep YJ. Hey, if you like this video, click up here to subscribe. I've got some other things coming. Thanks for watching.